Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the Xtream channel. Today, we are going to learn about a very interesting topic, the Big Bang Theory. You would have thought at least once in your lifetime, what is the reason that we all exist? How did the earth come into existence? What was present before the humans? How did the mountains, the trees, the rocks, the soil was formed? So the answer to all the questions began from a point called as the Big Bang Theory. How did the earth come into existence? So the most accepted explanation is the Big Bang Theory. What is Big Bang Theory? Now let's look deep into it. So most scientists now believe that we live in a finite expanding universe which has not existed forever, and all that matter, energy and space in the universe was once squeezed into an infinitesimally small volume which exploded and has become quite popularly known as Big Bang Theory. So in the beginning there was a single small point. ಎಷ್ಟು ಚಿಕ್ಕದಂದ್ರೆ so very small point, like if you take a needle and if you'll be having a sharp end, right? So if you cut that sharp end for 1,000 times, then you will be getting one more small one-th of the 1,000 point. So that much small point was present, and that started expanding, and it expanded so much that the galaxies or the space or universe present right now is the expanded form of that small point. ಸೊ ಆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಈಗ ಏನಿದೆ ಗ್ಯಾಲಕ್ಸಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಹೌ ಡಿಡ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಸಚ್ ಅ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್, ದ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ? ಆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಇಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಗ್ಯಾಲಕ್ಸಿ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯಿತು? ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಟೈಮ್ ಲೈನ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಫ್ರಮ್ 1 to 0 to 1 second, and from 1 second to 1 minute, 1 minute to 1 hour, and 1 hour to 1 year, from 1 year to 1,000 years, and till 0th second to 13.7 billion years. So what are the changes that has happened? We'll look into it right now. The timeline is divided into certain epochs. Epochs in the sense you can call it as a eras. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾಲಮಾನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. So let us look into first epoch, that is the Planck Epoch. So this happened from 0 to approximately 10 to the power minus 43 seconds. So what do you mean by 10 to the power minus 43 seconds? So you can calculate that as 1 divided by 10 and 42 zeros. So if you calculate that, what the value which you will be getting, like 0.000 some seconds, so you need to remember that. So what happened in Planck Epoch? So in the Planck Epoch, this is the closest that current physics can get to the absolute beginning of time. So the physics is calculated like, so this was the place or the closest that the time had begun. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಂತ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದನೇ. ಸೊ ನೌ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ, ಇಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಲೈಕ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಟೈಮ್, ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಲ್ 10 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and this is the year, this is the month. So where did all this began? So this began from this Planck Epoch, and from the very next second this Planck Epoch happened. So that is 0 to approximately 10 to the power minus 43 seconds. That is where the time began, and certain singularity was present. What is it? What do you mean by singularity? Singularity means, so like the universe is made up of matter. So what do you mean by matter? Matter is something that occupies space and has volume. So that concept was not yet present, so that time is called as singularity. And there were some fundamental forces like electromagnetism, weak nuclear force, and strong nuclear force, and gravity. All these forces started to evolve or started to grow. So that was the time of Planck Epoch. Next, Grand Unification Epoch. So this happened from 10 to the power minus 43 seconds to 10 to the power minus 36 seconds. So what happened in this Grand Unification Epoch was that the forces, all the forces which I had mentioned earlier, like electromagnetism, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force, gravity, so all this started to separate, like gravitational force started separating from all the other forces. So that is what happened in the Grand Unification. Next is the Inflationary Epoch. So this happened between 10 to the power minus 36 seconds to 10 to the power minus 32 seconds. So what happened at this time? So due to the trigger of separation of strong nuclear forces, the universe undergoes an extreme rapid explosion or the expansion. So this is known as cosmic inflation. What happened was that all the nuclear forces were separated, right, as I told you earlier. So this, what happened by this was, there was a strong explosion or expansion. By this expansion, this is called as cosmic inflation. So what happened was, the tiny particles expanded and the universe came to a size of around a grapefruit. ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿಯ size ಅಷ್ಟು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಯಿತು. ಸೊ the universe became as big as a grapefruit. Next, electroweak epoch. So this happened between 10 to the power minus 36 seconds to 10 to the power minus 12 seconds. So what happened at this time? As strong nuclear forces separate from the two other particles, that is the weak nuclear and gravitational forces. So what happened was that there was a large creation of exotic particles. So there was exotic particles were created at this time. That is the electroweak epoch. Next, quark epoch. So quark epoch happened between 10 to the power minus 12 seconds to 10 to the power minus 6 seconds. So what happened at this time? Electrons and neutrons form in large number as the universe cools off to below 10 quadrillion degrees. So the electrons and neutrons were formed at this epoch. Quark epoch time ಅಲ್ಲಿ electrons ಮತ್ತು neutrons form ಅದು. So ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ. And then the four fundamental forces assume their present forms. Quarks and antiquarks annihilate and other upon contact, but in the process known as baryogenesis, a surplus of quarks survives, which ultimately combine to form matter. So basically, quark epoch time ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, hadron epoch. So this happened between 10 to the power minus 6 seconds to 1 second. So you need to remember that all this happened, all the above explained epochs happened before 1 second. So 1 second ಆಗೋದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯಿತು. ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಒಂದು ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿ ಹಣ್ಣು ಒಂದು ಟು ದ ಸೈಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಪ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಬಿಲೋ 1 second. Next, hadron epoch. This happened between 10 to the power minus 6 seconds to 1 second. So the temperature of the universe cools to about a trillion degrees. Cool enough to allow quarks to combine to form hadrons like protons and neutrons. So the temperature, universe temperature ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಕೂಲ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಕೆಲವು ಟ್ರಿಲಿಯನ್ ಡಿಗ್ರೀಸ್ ವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಲ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಆಗೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, protons and neutrons were created. So electrons colliding with protons in the extreme conditions of the hadron epoch fuse to form neutrons and give off massless neutrinos. So electrons and protons collide and combine to form the neutrons in this epoch. Next, Lepton Epoch. So this happened between 1 second to 3 minutes. Now the timeline has passed from seconds to minutes. So what happened from first second to the 3 minutes? So after majority of hadrons and antihadrons annihilate each other, at the end of the hadron epoch, leptons such as electrons and positrons dominate the mass of the universe. So ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪಾಸಿಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಈಗ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಡಾಮಿನೇಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್. As electrons and positrons collide and annihilate at each other, energy in the form of photons is freed up. So the electrons and positrons are colliding each other. They are fighting with each other. So this, what happens by this is that energy in the form of photons is released. This is the happening in the Lepton epoch. Next, nucleosynthesis. So this happened from 3 minutes to 20 minutes. What happened in this time? So the temperature of the universe falls to a point where the atomic nuclei began to form as a protons and neutrons combine through nuclear fusion to form a nuclei of the simple elements of hydrogen, helium and lithium. So during the nucleosynthesis time, what happened was that nucleus was formed. So the temperature reduced from trillion degrees to billion degrees. So that is the reduction, right? So the temperature was reduced and then the atomic nuclei was formed. So you know that everything around us is made up of atoms. The atoms nuclei was formed in the nucleosynthesis time from 3 minutes to 20 minutes. And the first elements was formed were hydrogen, helium and lithium. So these were the first elements that were formed. So after about 20 minutes, the temperature and the density of the universe has fallen to a point where the nuclear fusion cannot continue. So after this effect, the temperature falls so less. So temperature ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದೆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗೋ ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯಿತು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್. Next comes the Photon Epoch or the Radiation Domination. So this happened between 3 minutes to 2,40,000 years. So you can see the timeline change, right? The timeline has changed from minutes to 2,40,000 years. So it was a very long time where the Photon Epoch happened. What happened in this time period? So during this long period of gradual cooling, the universe is filled with plasma, a hot opaque soup of atomic nuclei and electrons. ಸೊ ಈ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯಿತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದ್ರವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಆಟೋಮಿಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯೈ ಮತ್ತು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ವು. ದೇ ವರ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಆಟೋಮಿಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯೈ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್ and during the gradual cooling during this Photon Epoch period. Next, recombination or decoupling. So this happened between 2,40,000 years to 300,000 years. So this was a very long time, right? So what happened in this epoch? Let's look at this. As the temperature of the universe falls to around 3,000 degrees. So you need to remember that during recombination or decoupling time, the universe temperature reduced to around 3,000 degrees. So at least now we can imagine what will be the temperature, right? ಸೊ ಈಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಎಷ್ಟಿರಬಹುದು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ 3,000 degrees is the imaginable degrees. So during this period of time, the temperature of the universe will fall to 3,000 degrees. What happens at this time? Then its density also continues to fall. Universe in density nu kadime aagta barutte. Then ionized hydrogen and helium atoms capture electrons, known as recombination. So what happens during this period is that hydrogen and helium atoms capture the electrons, thus neutralizing their electric charge. With the electrons now bound to atoms, the universe finally becomes transparent to light, making this the earliest epoch observable today. It also releases the photons in the universe, which have till this time been interacting with the electrons and protons in an opaque photon barrier fluid. So now like this is the epoch where we can presently see. So now we can sit in the earth and look at this, like what would have happened in this epoch. We could see that using the telescopes. So that is what it's explained. Next, dark age or dark era. So this happened between 300,000 years to 150 million years. So this was a really long time. So what happened in the dark age or the dark era? So the period after the formation of the first atoms and before it the first stars is sometimes referred to as the dark age. So ಯಾವ period ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ after the formation of atom and before the formation of first stars. So atom form ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತು ಒಂದು ನಕ್ಷತ್ರ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗೋ ಮುಂಚೆ, ಸೊ ಆ ಟೈಮ್ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಏಜ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಏಜ್. ಆಲ್ದೋ ಫೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆಡ್, ದ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಲಿಟ್ರಲಿ ಡಾರ್ಕ್. ಸೊ ಫೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಈ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇತ್ತು. ವಿತ್ ನೋ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಟ್, with only very diffuse matter remaining, activity in the universe has tailed off dramatically with very low energy levels and very large time scales. So this is what happened in the dark age. Next, reionization age. This happened between 150 million years to 1 billion years. So this was a timeline for reionization. What happened at this time? So the first quasars form from gravitational collapse, and the intense radiation they emit reionizes the surrounding universe. The second of the two major phase changes of hydrogen gas in the universe. From this point on, most of the universe goes from being neutral back to being composed of ionized plasma. So this is what happened in the reionization period. Now comes the star and galaxy formation. So this is the timeline where the solar system or the actual universe started to form. So what happened at this time? Gravity amplifies slight irregularities in the density of the primordial gas and pockets of gas become more and more dense. Even as the universe continues to expand rapidly, these small, dense clouds of cosmic gas start to collapse under their own gravity, becoming hot enough to trigger nuclear fusion reaction between hydrogen atoms, creating the first very star. ಸೊ ಈ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಏನಿರ್ತವೆ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಹೀಲಿಯಂ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಆ ಓನ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಸ್ ಆಗೋಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಆ ಕೊಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇಂದ there was a lot of heat produced. So due to that heat, the star formed. So this have all due to all this process, the first star was formed. The first stars are very short lived. ಸೊ ಮೊದಲನೇ ನಕ್ಷತ್ರ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಅದರ ಏಜ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸೊ 100th ಆಫ್ ದ ಸನ್. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಸನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ 1 ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ಸ್ ಟು 100 ಸನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತೀನಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, solar system formation. Solar system formation was formed between 8.5 billion years to 9 billion years. So ಈ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಲಾರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಆರ್ ಸನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಲೇಟರ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ incorporating the debris from many generation of earlier stars, and the solar system around it formed roughly after the Big Bang theory of 8.5 to 9 billion years. So our sun is a later star, so it is a very small star. So this how the sun was formed is that the debris from the earlier stars, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಇರುವ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಗಳ ಕೆಲವು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಉಳಿದಿರ್ತವೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಸನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ದ ಡೆಬ್ರಿಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಸ್ combined to form the solar system or our sun. Next, so as you can see out the chart, so please look into this chart, and the timeline, eras, temperature and the characteristics of the universe are divided completely, and you can go through this chart. Next is our favorite timeline, that is today. So what we are living right now is 13.7 billion years after the Big Bang, which has happened. So the expansion of the universe and the recycling of star materials into new stars continues. So this is the main theory accepted by the scientists, that our universe is still expanding and the new stars are still forming. So that is what the scientists are explaining. Next, so what are the evidences that Big Bang theory actually happened? So cosmic background radiation is the evidence used in support of the theory, that is faint radiation left over from the explosion itself. So as I have explained to you earlier, that there was a small explosion or the expansion, right? So the radiation is still there out there. So that is the main evidence for this Big Bang. Next, redshift of wavelength of light from distant galaxies, and expansion implies smaller in the past. So this is the some of the evidences present right now. So the Big Bang theory is basically a theory, that is the scientists have come up with some calculations and trying to prove that this actually would have happened. So there are some of the problems with this theory. So what are those? There was nothing, then there was something. From where did it come? So as we have read earlier, so there was some point, right? In the very beginning there was some point. So where did that point come from? So that is the main problem of this theory. Next, all matter in the universe is a dime-sized package. Next, outcomes which will happen. So what are the next things that are going to happen? We don't know that for sure, right? So that is the main problems with this theory. So if you had gained some knowledge about Big Bang theory from this video, please share, like and subscribe. Thank you.